What's up, Crystal?
What's up, Abraham?
Let's see if we're live. I think we're live.
Looks
We
like
could
it
go
looks like
ahead.
we're
Yes,
live.
excellent.
Hopefully we are.
How are you
So
doing today?
I'm doing well. How about yourself?
I can't complain. I can't complain.
Can't complain. How was your day?
My day was very well. My day was very
Your day
well.
went well.
The little one got his first shot for the vaccine.
That's true. Our
11-year-old.
our 11-year-old was finally able to get the vaccine. So that's good.
That was exciting for him.
Yes, he was very excited to be able to finally get the vaccine. We also have an older son who is 13. So he's been vaccinated for a little while now.
There we go.
So now the Walkers can get out and do things together as a family. Soon.
Yes, after he gets his second.
2 weeks after his second dose, I guess.
Gotcha. That's the verdict. What about yourself? How are you doing today?
Excellent. Good day today.
You had a good day today?
Pretty good day today.
You want to probably slide over just
this
a
way.
little bit. Oh, that's
too much.
There you go.
There we go. Excellent.
Okay. So welcome to today's show. We really appreciate you coming in. A couple things. The way this show works, we are here to answer your questions about the Northern Virginia real estate market. Every week we come to you live on Wednesdays at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
Mm-hmm.
These live streams last about an hour. We have a couple topics that we already have some notes on that we'll have a conversation around. Be sure to drop a comment if you have a question for us about either the topic that we're talking about or just Northern Virginia, moving to Northern Virginia, moving around Northern Virginia, something about real estate. Feel free to drop a comment down below. Today, we're talking about Kingstowne in the Alexandria area, the Fairfax County, Alexandria area of the county, right? So that's going to be the southern part. We live in Kingstowne. We've been living in Kingstowne since 2013. And we're going to talk to you all a little bit about that in today's show. First off, we're going to talk about a real estate topic. That's how every show starts off. A real estate topic, something that's relevant right now. Usually is geared towards buyers, what buyers are going through to help the individuals that we kind of dedicate this channel to, which is individuals relocating or moving around the area. So we'll talk about that first. Then we'll get into the numbers as far as market stats, how the market is going at this very time in Kingstowne, since that's our topic for today. After that, we'll talk about Kingstowne, the area. And we'll tell you some things that you know about it, some things that you could find out online, some things that you would only know from living there, like we've been living here since 2013. We think that Kingstowne is a relevant topic, and one that we want to tackle first is because there are a lot of sales in Kingstowne, so there is a good chance that you're going to be moving to the Kingstowne area or even around Kingstowne. There's another zip code around Kingstowne, which is the 22310, which is Franconia, which also has a lot of sales. Then there's 22079, which is Loudoun, which also has a lot of sales. So there's a good chance you're going to be moving around this area. So this information is going to be important to you. And then Crystal has a couple things to do around the area, some relevant topics, some news related to what's going on in the Fairfax County area. So before we jump in, we're going to clear out the comments right now, and then we'll have our conversation. And we'll be clearing out the comments at the end of each segment. So please put your comments in. Don't think that we're going to be ignoring you. We're just going to finish the segment and then answer the comments.
Excellent.
All right. So we have one comment so far. Jakir, can you please talk about Lake Ridge, Woodbridge, 22192 housing market? You know what? That's so timely because we actually will be covering that segment on
next Wednesday.
Next Wednesday on the Wednesday, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. If you have a pressing need, there is a link in the description to the Perfect Home Questionnaire. I would recommend that you use that link if you want to talk about the Lake Ridge area immediately, or if you can wait, we're going to be actually doing a deep dive into the Lake Ridge area next week. So thank you so much for that timely comment.
And just really quickly, so what we do is every week we tackle a different area. So we do Fairfax County one week. The following week is Prince William County, followed by Arlington, and then the city of Alexandria.
Exactly.
So next week, our plan is to do Prince William. So we will have those numbers for the Prince William area, and we could actually make Lake Ridge our area of concentration next week.
Yes.
Like we're focusing on Kingstowne in this video. Next week we can focus on Lake Ridge.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Jacquard. Okay, we have two more comments. I want to buy a home in Lake Ridge 22192 area. That's the zip code in the Woodbridge area.
One of the three, but in Lake Ridge specifically.
And also Woodbridge is in the Prince William County area for anybody out there. My budget is $500,000. Should I wait for another 6 to 7 months for cooling down? I want a 4-bedroom single family home. Please suggest. My recommendation is, because your budget is, even for the Lake Ridge area, is kind of low, I would start looking right now and see if you could find anything that fits your needs, right? Because even in 6 to 7 months, you're talking about going from fall, this is almost late fall, into the spring summer season. And in the spring summer season, everything gets crazy here. So I would not recommend waiting. And actually, even on our last video, I think the last couple of videos, we've talked about how the best time of the year to get a deal is in the winter season. So we have a lot of people right now, or a lot of sellers who've been trying to sell their homes, and the days on market have increased. So this may be a great opportunity for you to snag a property that's been sitting on the market. Jakira.
Yes, because what we see in the spring and summer market, because 6-7 months from now, we're really looking at June is 7 months from now, based upon where we are in the year. That's the summer market. And that is, that's the spring summer market, which is the busiest time of year. So when we see the most transactions, is when we see the most buyers out. So there's a lot more competition. And with a lower budget, as Abraham said, it may be advantageous to look in the fall and winter.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So start looking right now. And since it sounds like you're in the market right now, Jakir, I would recommend going to the link in the description to the Perfect Home Questionnaire. Fill that out, and then we'll schedule a time to do some one-on-one session and talk to you about your immediate needs. So that's the Perfect Home Questionnaire. It's a few questions, super quick and easy to fill out. And then we have one more comment. Actually, this isn't a comment. This is actually a super chat.
Oh, is that what that is?
That is what that is. $9.99.
Wow.
So thank you so much. How do I pronounce that?
Vania is what I would go with.
Okay,
I hope that's correct.
Vania, thank you so much for the support. I really do appreciate it. All right, so we have one more comment before we get into the segment here. Do you also recommend rentals? I want to move to the area from New York City. We recommend rentals in the event that you're only going, I guess, how would I put this? Rentals are great to learn the area, because Northern Virginia is
massive.
A massive area and it's expensive. So the amount of money it takes you to put down on the property, move into a neighborhood, may be so significant that you may not have enough money to do it again in 2 or 3 years. So renting is a great strategy to learn the area, as long as you commit to learning the area, right? So I don't want you to get into your rental and just go into your normal day-to-day stuff. I need you to start getting out there, exploring the area, seeing what's out there, seeing what neighborhoods you like. Get pre-approved as soon as you start renting, right? So, I would get pre-approved before I rent, and this is why. Once you get pre-approved, you'll have like a monthly figure that will tell you which parts of the region that you could stay in, right?
Like how much you could spend per month will determine what area you can move to.
Yes. And whatever that monthly note is that you can afford as far as a mortgage, I would try to go find a rental in and around those areas. This will help you to live in the area first, and then get an idea of what are the adjacent or surrounding areas that may also fit your needs, right? Because if you move, so we live in Kingstowne. Rentals in Kingstowne go from anywhere from $2,700 to, I would say, like
for a townhouse, maybe $32 on the high end.
Yes, and then for a single family, which are rare, that you probably go into like the $3,500 to $4,500, right? So if that's your ballpark, or if that's your budget, then this would be an area you want to move into as far as renting, and then see if that coincides with the the price of your mortgage payment, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I would do that for any part of the area, right? So I wouldn't necessarily try to rent somewhere that's convenient or that's even affordable. I would try to match my rental price with the mortgage price, so then you can go straight into the neighborhood and see what it's about, because there's no other kind of research you can do than on the ground.
Yeah, this is the best research you can do. We're very fortunate in that this is the first area that we moved to, and we just happen to fall in love with it. But you never know. Once you get into an area, you may feel that it's not the right vibe for you. You may not like that area.
Right.
So it's definitely a good idea to find a place within your budget. If you can live there for a year or two and rent, that's actually not a bad idea at all. Oftentimes, we find with a lot of clients that we meet via YouTube is that, specifically when they're military, they're not going to be here for longer than 4 years or so.
Yes.
So those people are usually more interested in buying just because they want to move twice.
That's true.
And that's like the biggest thing we hear from them is, I don't want to move twice. I don't want to move and then have to move again in 12 months
Yes.
or 18 months because I'm only going to be here for 4 years.
Yes.
But if you plan on moving here, like if this is it, or you're going to be here for a good little while, I don't think it's a bad idea to rent.
Yes. And I would say for the military clients who do decide to buy as soon as they jump into this market, or for the individuals who don't want to move twice, for the military people, if you're only going to be here 4 years, then if you rent for a year and you only have 3 years left on your assignment, then you don't really have enough time sometimes to recoup your closing costs for your equity to increase, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because you don't want to be forced to where you have to, you're selling the property, or you're thinking about selling the property 4 or 5 years from now, and you have no equity, right? And so your equity position is going to be a byproduct of how long you can actually stay in the property, right? Because Northern Virginia has a history so far, knock on wood, or knock on whatever this is.
Particle board,
yes. Northern Virginia so far has a history of prices increasing, right? 3 to 4%. Year over year, right? And so if you can hold it for 4 years, then you have a nice chunk of equity. And so that's why we see a lot of the military clients,
they hold on for a little bit
Yes.
longer. A lot of times we see our clients move out of the area, but they don't choose to sell.
Mm-hmm.
They'll choose to hold on for a little while. And we, for the most part, have a pretty strong rental market because we have so many military bases nearby. We never really experience a client having a hard time finding a tenant.
That's true. That's true. Now, I will say though, with rentals in this market, this is not an investor's dream of purchasing a property and renting it, because you actually may have to bring money to the table to rent your property in Northern Virginia. It's a weird thing.
Yes, right now, especially the way the market has increased over the last year, the rental prices haven't increased at that same rate yet. So that means that if you were to buy something this year, and we're selling in a year or two, we don't know what those rental rates are going to be in 2 years.
That's true. That's true.
Okay.
Excellent. All right, let's go. There's some great comments. Thank you so much for the feedback. We do this live stream just so we can talk to you
answer your
immediately,
questions.
right? All right, so Vania said, yes, ma'am, that's correct. I love y'all channel. First video I saw was the Great Falls visit, and subscribe for the VA info. Excellent. Great Falls is a beautiful area.
It's one of our favorite.
And Great Falls right now is probably lovely.
Okay, so I'm actually going to talk about that a little later when I talk about the things to do. We're going to talk about some of the best places to check out in the fall.
Excellent.
And Great Falls is definitely one of them.
Perfect. Well, Vania, I hope that you've gotten a chance to go to Great Falls and check it out for yourself with the waterfalls and everything.
If you haven't, tomorrow's Veterans Day, so it's free tomorrow. So if you haven't, you should check it out tomorrow if you're free.
Excellent. Excellent. And then one more comment before we start the session. Sharon says, thank you. I appreciate you. My pleasure. Thank you for the question. Thank you for tuning in too. So let's talk about our first topic, which is...
What are we talking about today?
We're talking about seller subsidies.
Okay.
We're talking about seller subsidies. I just want to pull up what a seller subsidy is.
Okay, very good.
So a seller subsidy, let me get my face. Well, I guess we don't need to put our face on. So a seller subsidy is more or less like a seller contribution to your closing costs. It's used as a negotiation tool. You can use it as a negotiation tool at the beginning of the transaction or in the middle of the transaction if something happens. But seller subsidy is a topic I want to discuss or talk to you all about today because Let's get this off the screen here.
Mhm.
All right. Excellent. So the reason why I'm going to talk to you all about seller subsidy today is when I was crunching the numbers for Kingstowne today, I noticed a trend in the Kingstowne numbers that we'll cover in the next segment. That information or that discovery in the Kingstowne section made me want to go check out the information for Fairfax County.
Okay.
And in Fairfax County, 22% of the transactions that occurred in October 2021 had a seller subsidy.
I am shocked by that. I really am.
Yes.
Well, I'm shocked, and then I'm also not shocked, right? Because we have not really seen seller subsidies all year. Like for the most part, this entire year, we just have not seen them. It's been such a crazy market with buyers waiving all types of contingencies and, homes selling for so much over asking price. And one thing we've been talking about over the last few weeks, if we've noticed a trend of days on market increasing, and price reductions, right?
Right.
And so now you're telling me we're also seeing seller subsidies return.
That's true. Now, for the individuals who maybe haven't purchased a property yet, the seller subsidy conversation may still be confusing, right? And so, what a seller subsidy is, let's talk about how it benefits you as a buyer. So let's assume you're a buyer buying into this market, and you're using our services, and we tell you, you know what, 20% of the homes, 1 out of every 5 homes is selling with a seller subsidy. So we should position ourselves to make an offer with the seller subsidy. Now, a seller subsidy actually reduces the amount of money the seller makes, but the advantage to you is that you, the buyer, now has a reduction in your closing costs. At the same time, your loan still stays at the same price. So it's almost like you're dipping into your loan, right? And you are using some of that money up front to purchase the property. That reduces your upfront cost. You have less of not necessarily a down payment, but just your closing cost is how it's going to affect your bottom line. And this is advantageous to you because you have less money to bring to the table, right? So for some of our VA buyers, at the very minimum, I would say that a VA buyer could get into a transaction even with no money down. If you include all of your VA funding fee on the back end, you're probably looking at $6,000 to $8,000 investment, even with zero money down, right? Well, that $6,000 to $8,000 could be covered in a seller closing costs or seller subsidy. And in Fairfax County, those 22% of those homes that sold, right? So almost 1 in 5 homes, the average seller subsidy was $7,400.
Oh.
Yes.
That's not a little bit.
No, it's not.
Now, one thing to keep in mind is a seller subsidy isn't always, as Abraham was saying, it's a negotiation tool. Sometimes we see a seller subsidy when we have a buyer who needs assistance with closing costs.
Right.
Other times we see it when maybe there's a defect with the property or something on the home inspection where the seller isn't willing, isn't able, maybe there's not enough time or whatever the case may be. And so instead of doing a repair, they offer a credit to the buyer. And then that credit is shown in the MLS as a seller subsidy.
When we're working with our clients, Crystal's so right. When we're working with our clients, if we're in the home inspection period and the repairs are significant, either they're cosmetic repairs or they're just significant in the sense that it's going to take a long time to do.
We may not have time. Like right now at this time of year, we know that it's hard. Contractors can be hard to come by. Especially with the weather changing, you're thinking about there may be issues that need to be addressed outside of the home. And so sometimes in those scenarios, or oftentimes in those scenarios, you recommend a seller subsidy.
A seller subsidy, right? And so that's where, like we have a case, next week where the age of the AC came into consideration for a transaction for one of our clients, right? And instead of the seller installing the AC, because that may have delayed closing, we'll ask for a request to seller subsidy because the AC still works, but you just have a concern about
exactly. The home inspection revealed, hey, this is cause for concern, or oftentimes what it'll end up saying is budget for replacement.
Yes,
which means that it may not break this year, it may not even break in the next 2 years. Just know that it's coming, and when it does come, you'll have that money, and you won't. It's not like you're going to save the $8,000. Hey, this is my HVAC fund,
Right.
but you didn't bring that $8,000 to the closing table. So in theory, you still have that $8,000 that you initially thought you were going to have to bring to the table.
Exactly. So that's one way the seller subsidy benefits you, and that's in a negotiation during the home inspection period. The other way you would use the seller subsidy to your advantage is actually in the offer process, right? So let's say you have a $600,000 property and your closing costs may be anywhere from $12,000 to $18,000, right? So that's separate from your down payment, right? So you may actually, you may already have the money, right? Which is great. But you may just want to use a seller subsidy to reduce the amount of money you bring to the table, right? And then you could ask the seller for a $5,000 seller subsidy, $10,000 seller subsidy. We see this more and more often with our VA and FHA clients, but FHA, we don't really see that many FHA deals in Northern Virginia in general, just because the prices are so high. So really, we're more or less talking to the individuals who are using conventional financing or VA financing. But in both of those scenarios, you can use a seller subsidy, right, offer to reduce the amount of money you bring to the table for your closing costs. And this is on the front end. So we have on the front end, we have the seller subsidy that's actually included in the contract. And then on the back end, we have the seller subsidy where the home inspection doesn't go the right way, or the way we would like it to go, or the radon inspection doesn't go the right way, or the HOA inspection. Like there's several things that could happen where maybe the seller doesn't have the money, maybe the seller doesn't have the time, maybe the seller is out of the area, and so they don't have the bandwidth to make the repairs. So a seller subsidy is a solution to that. And what's positive about seeing seller subsidies, right? I know if you're selling a house, you hate this, but what's positive about seeing a seller subsidy is that we're going to see more buyers who are maybe in an apartment, who are maybe renting, who are not necessarily have the all of the money to bring to the table to purchase a property, but can still qualify, right? They still have high credit scores, they still have great jobs, but they just maybe are cash strapped. Seeing these seller subsidies increase in our market is a great sign for those individuals, because this opens up, it makes homes more affordable in this area, even though this is not that affordable of an area.
Yeah.
Woo.
All right.
That was
so.
Well, did you have anything to say about that?
No, I think you covered it all.
I did. Okay, excellent. If you're watching right now, have you used a seller subsidy or a closing cost credit? It's different names in different locations. Have you ever used that type of tool in negotiations? How did it go? Let us know in the comments section if you're watching right now, or even if you're watching on the replay. What do you think about seller subsidy? If you're selling a house and you're in Northern Virginia, just know that as we go deeper into this market, we're coming out of the pandemic market or the coronavirus market, and we're getting into more of a normal market. And because prices were already high for the pandemic, now we're trying to see like where are the prices, and that closing cost credit is really a sales price reduction, right? Masked as a higher sales price, right? So if 22% of the properties had a $7,400 closing cost credit, that means that really those prices could have been dropped
$7,000.
$7,000, right? So let us know in the comment section about that information. Well,
all right.
That was
so now you're going to take us on to the numbers in Kingstowne, what we have seen happening in the market over the last 4 weeks for the month of October.
That's true.
And I'm interested in seeing these numbers because I haven't seen the numbers yet.
Excellent. Well, what you're seeing on your screen right now, these are the top sales in October 2021.
By top, do you mean the highest closed sales prices?
Yep.
Okay, excellent. Okay, so it looks like the first three are single families, and they're in so the first three are single families, and then I see a couple of townhouse communities in there, and two more single families thrown in towards the bottom half.
Yep. So the top sales are gonna, of course, are always going to be the single families. One thing that kind of shocked me about these sales right now
Mhm.
is the idea or the fact that um, there are no $1 million sales.
Yeah.
There's not $1 million sale, so that's different than a couple months ago. We were seeing almost $1 million sale every month.
Yeah. Well, I think maybe a lot of those people were able to get out of those properties, right? Like they were, because the market was up, and we were even seeing some of those $1 million homes be bid up.
Right.
Actually, all of them were bid up, right?
That's true.
So I think that maybe those people saw an opportunity to get what I get was good.
That's true. That's true. Since some of you are in the military buyers,
Mhm.
moving here because you are going to be working at the Pentagon or Fort Belvoir, you'll be comforted to know that there were 46 transactions in October, and of those, let's see my notes. Um, of those 10,
Okay.
22% were VA buyers, right? So
Mhm.
1 out of 5 transactions were VA buyers. We already know this from living in the Kingstowne area
Mhm.
that military.
We have a healthy military
We
presence
do.
in the area. Lots of military families. As a matter of fact, a couple of our elementary schools have been noted as, I want to say, purple ribbon schools.
Yeah.
For being excellent locations for military families.
So if you're a military personnel looking for a great community where you're going to have neighbors that are most likely also going to be in the military and understand that way of life, Kingstowne is a great place for you. Like I said, there were 46 transactions in the month of October. The average sales price was $574,000. That was across all 3 property types, because in Kingstowne you have condos, townhouses, and single family homes.
Mhm.
Now there are more townhouses
Mhm.
than any of those properties, but you do have the flexibility or the options to choose or select those types of housing prices.
And when you say Kingstowne, I just want to be clear. You mean you use the entire 2, 3, and 5 zip code?
Yes.
So because that's one of the things we're actually going to talk about, and I guess I'll just say it now. So when he says Kingstowne in this video, what he means is the greater Kingstowne area. So the greater Kingstowne area includes the Kingstowne subdivision, which has nearly 6,000 homes. But then there are also a couple of other smaller subdivisions that surround Kingstowne. They're all in that same 22315 zip code.
Yes.
And so when we say Kingstowne in this video, he really does, for these numbers, he's referring to the entire zip code.
And when you do move to this area, because we're assuming you're going to move to the Kingstowne area, you might as well be around us, right? We're lively people. When you do move to the Kingstowne area, you'll find out that people call this general area Kingstowne,
Yes.
right? Everybody calls the general area Kingstowne. Maybe, yeah. Almost everyone does.
I mean, it's the best way to identify it. Most people don't identify where they live by their subdivision.
Yes.
Kingstowne is actually one of the largest subdivisions in Northern Virginia.
Second largest next to it.
Yes. And so it's easier to identify the area that way. Usually when people live in other smaller subdivisions, when they're outside of their neighborhood, they don't say the subdivision they live in.
That's true.
They rather address it by the area.
Those are big facts. That's what the kids say.
Oh, goodness. You sound like one of our children.
That's true. Yeah. So the average sales price, $574. That's actually up by $16,000 or 3% from last year in October. And then the days on market are up 7 days or a week to 18 days on market. So still relatively low days on market, still less than a month, 2 weeks to get your home. So 50% of all the transactions happened in Kingstowne proper. So in Kingstowne, the HOA. And that makes sense. Kingstowne, the HOA is 5,500 homes. So it's a large swath of properties that we're going to talk about shortly. So as far as like the breakdown of transactions by property type, that was 8 single families, 36 townhomes, and 2 condos.
I'm actually most surprised by that. Only 2 condo sales in the entire month.
That's true. I don't know if I'm surprised by that, because in the past we've seen a lot of condo owners they're usually selling around the spring season.
That's true.
Because usually they're doing a move up purchase. So the most townhouses that are available, or the most inventory available, is going to be in that spring season. So I'm not necessarily that surprised. And we only have what, four condominium complexes in the Kingstowne area.
Yeah.
So there's, Cardinal Place, the 3 in Kingstowne. So that's not necessarily that surprising because we just don't have that many units.
Yeah.
Now this is going to surprise you. 1 out of every 3 transactions. So one out of the 46 transactions had a seller subsidy. A third of all transactions in Kingstowne had a seller subsidy. I'm not sure why we were 12% higher than Fairfax County, but
you know what though, I don't think I'm as surprised by that, just because we have seen the days on market creeping up a little bit, right? Properties that we saw flying off the market, like in one particular neighborhood, like going off the market very quickly. Say in August and July, we saw, days on market build in that community.
Right. We just had a closing in Kingstowne. One of our listings sold last week. Yeah, last week. I think we were on the market for 2 weeks.
2 weeks. I think it was 15 days. Yeah.
Right. That one didn't have any seller subsidy, but the one we have closing next week does have seller subsidy. So, I didn't really see too much of a correlation between whether or not the VA buyers were the ones that were the predominant users of the seller subsidy. So it'll be interesting to watch moving forward whether or not the seller subsidies increase, if the size of the seller subsidies increase, because it's been a very long time since we've seen seller subsidy
at all.
Yeah.
At least consistently, like at such a huge percentage.
That's true. So that's all the data for the Kingstowne area. I know that those numbers sometimes get a little boring. So are you surprised by the Kingstowne numbers? Let us know in the comments section. What did you think about the numbers overall?
I am actually surprised by the percentage of people using seller subsidies. I was also surprised, like I told you, about how few condos were sold. In the days on market, I felt personally from watching the market that it was actually going to be higher than that. I expected it to be more than 18 days. So I'm actually surprised by that. But I guess what I do know from watching the market is that homes that are priced well are still selling.
Right.
I think that the reason I maybe have noticed a few properties sitting on the market, especially when I'm running comps for our clients, is that some of those comps I think started off very high. And some sellers, because we're coming off this high market, I feel like some sellers have been hesitant, are slow to reduce their prices. And so for those properties, because you have to think, even that one that's closing next week, there's a property on the market on that same street that came on the market a month before we did.
That's true.
And that property is still on the market.
That's true. They should have hired a better agent.
So now we're going to talk about the area of Kingstowne, right? So Abraham gave you the numbers. We actually have other videos on our channel about Kingstowne. It is our favorite community, obviously.
We're constantly trying to sell people to the Kingstowne area. We love the Kingstowne area.
We love it.
And we also, I might as well just say this right now. When you're working with us, you're going to have a great time.
You will.
I'm super hilarious.
Super hilarious. That's what this guy is. He is super hilarious.
Super hilarious. It's
He's
going
all right.
to be just a wonderful experience. And you're going to want to live near me, right? It's just what it is. I'm just telling you the truth. You're going to want to live near me. We do fun things. We have events at our house.
We do have events at our home.
I run a dad's group in the area. So if you're a dad, holla at me. Kingstowne is just a great place to live.
But not just because we live here and not because we'll be your neighbors and because I frequently bake for our neighbors. That's not the reason to move to Kingstowne. There are other reasons outside of the walkers.
That's true.
To move to Kingstowne. So it's, as Abraham said before, it is the second largest subdivision, our planned community in Northern Virginia.
Hold on. Before we jump in, let's clear out the comment section and then we'll do the Kingstowne section.
I think there's just the one new one.
Yeah, I know.
Okay. Excellent.
Tracy. Oh, yeah. Hi, Tracy.
Hey, Tracy.
We're about to actually talk about the Kingstowne area right now, Tracy. I just covered the Kingstowne
market stats.
Yeah, the market stats, right? So that we got through the boring stuff or the stuff that may be boring or not. But now we're about to actually talk about Kingstowne, the area. So you didn't miss it yet.
Okay, excellent. So as I was saying, Kingstowne is one of the larger planned communities in Northern Virginia. What I like most about it is that it really is, in my opinion, the type of neighborhood that once you get here, you don't have to leave. And so we have all of the creature comforts. We do have an HOA. Our HOA has all the amenities you'd expect. Or actually, we have the amenities that a lot of HOAs don't have, because our HOA doesn't just include like snow and trash pickup. We actually have great amenities. So we have 2 swimming pools, a couple of tennis courts, basketball courts, sand volleyball. We have walking paths out the wazoo. And there's always stuff going on at our community center. We have 2 fitness centers, loads of exercise classes. My husband and kids have taken tennis lessons. There are cooking courses at our association. So there's just always stuff to do within the association. But then on top of that, we have all of the creature comforts. So we have the Kingstowne Town Center, which is like all of the shopping you would want to do. So it has, the big box stores. Abraham's pulling up the map here. We have like the TJ Maxx and the Home Goods. A few blocks down the road, we have a Home Sense also in the community. We have a World Market. When it comes to supermarkets, we have pretty much everything. We have a Amazon Fresh that opened earlier this year. We have Wegmans just a few blocks down the road. And then we have traditional, giant Safeway supermarkets. There's Walmart.
Hold on.
What?
You just glossed over the fact we have a Wegmans.
We do have a Wegmans. Oh, we love Wegmans.
We have a legitimate Wegmans.
Yes.
Right? So not everybody has a Wegmans. That's why you want to live in Kingstowne.
Because you can get everything you need. And also just the Wegmans app.
Yes.
But you can get everything you need. It's really the type of community, like once you get here at the end of the day, like you don't have to leave again. Like you don't have to leave the Kingstowne area. Abraham and I were actually doing a video tour a few weeks ago for another community. And one of our friends is a couple. They live in Fairfax Station. And I was like, do you know they still have to, if they don't have an onion, they still have to go to Kingstowne to get, that's the nearest supermarket to get an onion. Like I'm just so used to, I run and I'm in the middle of cooking and I call down to Abraham like, Saber, I need you to go pick up an onion.
That's true.
Right?
That's true.
And so I just feel like we have all of the creature comforts, movie theater, every type of restaurant you can imagine, whether it's from Thai to burgers, Japanese food, Indian, everything, and all of the casual, like fast casual place that people like, Panera, Cava, all of that, La Madeleine's. Like, so we pretty much have like a little bit of everything. We just got a new restaurant that opened up in the community if you want. Kitchen Cray if you want like a nice sit down restaurant.
We have a video about Kitchen Cray.
We do. There's Burton's. So it's like no matter what your feel is, there's even the Chili's if that's your thing, right? So it's like no matter what your feel is, like once you get to Kingstowne Friday evening after work, like you can hang out in this area all weekend. You can do your errands, you can head to the supermarket, you can relax at the pool, play some tennis, like everything that you would want to do is here in Kingstowne.
Take a breath. All right.
I just like it over here, right?
I know you do.
And so I'm going to briefly touch on, we have 2 high schools in the area. I'm actually not going to talk about ratings. I'm just going to let you know a little bit about each of them. So we have 2 high schools. So the way schools work here in Fairfax County, we have pyramids with the high school at the top, middle school in the middle, and then a couple of elementary schools on the lower level. And so for the most part, if you live in Kingstowne, your students or your children would be zoned to go to Hayfield Secondary. But there is a part in the North Village of Kingstowne that goes to Edison High. And so I mentioned both of those schools. Overall, with ratings, when you look them up, you'll see they're both kind of middle of the pack schools as far as ratings go. Edison does have an IB program, our International Baccalaureate program. And so a lot of parents like that about Edison. Also, if your student is on the AP track, if they're an advanced placement for elementary school, then they would actually have the option to go through the Edison Pyramid versus going through the Hayfield Secondary Pyramid.
Right.
And we have 3 elementary schools that service the greater Kingstowne area. And that's going to be Island Creek, which is the most highly rated, Lane Elementary, and then Hayfield Secondary, which are pretty much on par with one another. What do you want to say about Kingstowne?
Well, a couple things that I wanted to say were that Kingstowne is also right down the street from Lee District Rec Center. So we have a rec center right down the street. Kingstowne proper, so that's what we're talking about right now, the actual HOA. We have 2 gyms. Well, I know you said that we have 2 gyms, but I want to make sure that people understand we have 2 legitimate gyms where you won't have to sign up for
A gym membership.
A gym membership.
It's true.
Now there is a LA Fitness Center right next to the Wegmans complex, and then there's also Anytime Fitness in the where Amazon Fresh
is.
and HomeSense is. There's also a what's that other place, the other fitness center where Giant used to be?
There's a Planet Fitness that
Planet
opened.
Fitness,
Yeah,
right?
that opened during the pandemic, I think.
So you have those three, and then if you're fancy, right? If you feel fancy, right? If your budget allows it, there's also a place in Springfield called, what is that place called?
St. James.
St. James.
I think it's the St. James, actually.
Yes,
that's how fancy.
Don't get it twisted. Like that place, it will leave your pockets a little thin, but they have beautiful amenities. There's a water park. There's a state-of-the-art gym. There's all kind of stuff there. I'm still trying to get the missus to agree to let me join.
But as he already said, our fitness center has everything you need.
Yeah,
so
see, that's the problem with our fitness center.
Our fitness center already has everything you need. There's no reason for you to go to the St. James. So that's out.
That is. There are a couple other things too. I would say as far as legitimate restaurants, right? So we have Burton's. We also have Osteria Mazzano. That's a great Italian restaurant. We just
Fresh made pasta there.
Yep. We just got Kitchen Cray, which is going to be
kind of like a soul food, American soul or Southern style seafood restaurant.
And then the last place we have, well, I wouldn't say the last place. This is the last place on my list is going to, well, not the last place on my list. Anyway, we have Bonefish Grill. We have a Bonefish Grill here as well. So if you're thinking about like date night restaurants, we have 4 just within our area. In addition to this, and I don't know if Crystal mentioned this, but the Franconia Springfield Metro Station is within walking distance to the south part of Kingstowne. So I guess that's the western part of the Kingstowne area, and then to the northern part of the Kingstowne area, you'll have to drive. But then we have the Van Dorn Metro stop, right? So the Kingstowne area actually has 2 Metro stops that make it super convenient to get to work. That's why a lot of military personnel like to live in this area, because we don't necessarily see a lot of people working at Fort Belvoir living here, but we do see a lot of people that go to the Pentagon live in the Kingstowne area.
That's true. I think we have a fair number of people at Belvoir, but for the most part, a lot of our friends and clients who are military in the area work at the Pentagon.
And I think that the reason why we see a lot of Pentagon personnel working here is because if you're stationed at the Pentagon, usually your BAH is a little bit higher. And so like the Pentagon isn't going to be like your first station, whereas Fort Belvoir could be your first station, right?
Well, but the BAH is the same for both because it's based on the area.
Right. Well, what I'm just saying, like as far as like the higher level personnel are going to be at the Pentagon. Also, the Pentagon is just such a large, massive beast of a place. Is there anything else I wanted to talk to you all about the Kingstowne area? Oh, okay. Another thing about Kingstowne that I know Crystal mentioned, we have the tennis courts, we have all these rec centers. There's also an active HOA. Now, HOAs, depending on how you feel about them, right? They could be horrible, they could be great. I think that the Kingstowne HOA is a wonderfully ran institution, just because our landscaping is
yes.
We have wonderful landscaping. And I know what you're thinking to yourself, right? Abraham, it's just landscaping. I don't eat grass. I know you don't, but it's just a beautiful area as far as like tree trimmings. The grass is constantly cut. The streets are well maintained.
Yes, I feel like our streets are repaved, kid you not, every single year.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, I think, is it every year or is it every other? I don't know. It's just a lot. It's frequent. And we appreciate it, especially coming from New Orleans, because I feel like in the 29 years I lived in New Orleans, the streets were never repaved the entire time we were there.
Right.
Like, I can't remember that ever happening.
So I think it's a well-ran HOA. Also, they do a good job of staying on top of owners and maintaining their properties as well. So you don't necessarily have to get involved with that process if your neighbor isn't cutting their grass or if they're not maintaining their property that well. So I think that the HOA does a great job. They're very responsive. And so HOAs, sometimes we get requests where people say they don't want to live in an HOA. I think that the Kingstowne HOA is unique in the sense that we have almost like country club style amenities for not that much of an increase in HOA fees. Like it's a very reasonable HOA fee.
Absolutely. I agree. It's a reasonable HOA fee because as someone who keeps track of that for us, oftentimes I'm surprised by how much people pay in other associations with no amenities for just snow and trash.
Yes.
Right. And it's almost, it's ridiculous actually. So yeah.
Excellent. Anything else you want to say? Kingstowne area.
I think we covered it all. Let's go ahead and
hold on. One more thing I want to say about the Kingstowne area. We live in the south part of Kingstowne, or South Village, right? So the Kingstowne area is broken up into 3 villages: South, Middle, and North. South Village is on the west side. The North Village is on the eastern side of the Kingstowne area. On the south side of the South Village, most of the kids go to Lane Elementary School, and they're also assigned to the Hayfield Secondary School. Our kids walk to school.
Yes.
Our kids walking to school was super important to me because I knew that if my kids walk to school, then all of their friends live around the neighborhood, right? And so that means that they will go to school, they'll be in class with some kids that they like or just know, and then they would walk home with those individuals, they would play with those individuals. So I feel we just love the Kingstowne area for that vibe, because our kids are also getting a great experience in Kingstowne, which isn't the same in other areas where either your kid has to catch a bus or the school is super far.
Yeah, and I feel like we have a great community, even online. Our community has a couple of Facebook groups, and there's always stuff with neighbors interacting and doing things together. So it's just a really great community. Our family has loved it the entire time we've been here. If you watch a few of these videos, you know, every time we've even thought about leaving Kingstowne, we just haven't been able to pull the trigger. We just really love this area.
Right. We keep on coming back to Kingstowne.
Yeah, every time.
Yep.
Every time. All right.
Excellent.
So let's go ahead and clear the comments out, and then we're going to move on.
Okay. Tracy, I hope that answers your questions about the Kingstowne area. So that was our segment on Kingstowne. If you live in Kingstowne, if you live in the Kingstowne area, let us know. Were we accurate about Kingstowne?
Of course.
If you're thinking about living in the Kingstowne area and you want to talk to us and find out more information about Kingstowne, there is a link in the description to the Perfect Home questionnaire. That questionnaire will just ask you a couple questions, and then we can schedule a Zoom session to kind of talk about your specific needs, right?
Okay.
All right, let's see. We have C. Allen. I just got a place in Ashburn. I'm stoked. Springfield and surrounding areas played too many sales games and wasted time. You know, Ashburn is a desirable place to live. It's just far, right?
It's far.
You just have to deal with, if you work in the Reston area, then Ashburn isn't that far. Right?
But if you're in the DC metro area, then it's a little bit more of a hike.
Yeah, so I think that you're gonna enjoy the Ashburn area. They have those beautiful rolling hills. Also, they're just doing a ton of development in the Ashburn area. So, C. Allen, I'm pretty sure you're gonna enjoy Ashburn. Ashburn also has highly rated schools as well.
Yes,
so
they have the highest in the state. Actually, I want to say the highest in the country.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So enjoy yourself in Ashburn. So C. Allen says, where do private sector tech talent live? Ashburn is one place.
That's Loudoun. Herndon.
Herndon is the place. Now, I will say because Amazon HQ2 is located in Crystal City, and they're hiring so many individuals so many tech individuals to work that specific location. We're starting to see more tech people come down into like the southern part of the Fairfax County area, just because people don't want to travel from Loudoun, even though they have new housing stock, to the Crystal City area. And for reasons that we won't name, people choose not to go into Maryland as much, even though Maryland has newer housing stock in some locations, right? So I think that tech center individuals, depending on your salary, you also see a lot of tech people in the Arlington area as well. But again, if you live in Arlington, you know, it comes with a price. It comes with a smaller house, but great schools in some parts of Arlington as well. So C. Allen, I hope that answers your question. And then we got one more question here. See, I'm assuming Reston area, but I'm new here.
I would say Reston as well, because you have to think Reston also has that Google office there, IBM, and I think also Microsoft. So I could see, and they also have that RTC Reston Town Center. So it's a pretty popular area.
That's true
as well.
That's true. I just think that the with Reston, if you're getting like a condo, is probably going to be something that's attractive to you. But if you're looking for like what I find is when we're working with tech clients, if they're usually a little bit younger and they're looking for new construction. In Fairfax County, we just don't have that much new construction. We don't have that much
new construction in Fairfax County.
So I think that see, Alan, I hope that Reston is a great place to start. Especially you're going to find a lot of people who are tech oriented in that area, as well as a lot to do in Reston. We're going to be doing a video about Reston
very soon,
in a couple weeks. So please come back, subscribe to the channel, and keep your questions coming. So that's it. So we cleared out those questions.
Alrighty.
This is an active session today. Oh wait, we got one more. See, Alan, Loudoun is far, 30 miles. Yes, but coming from Miami, where the same commute takes 2 hours, I'm happy. Love my time in Merrifield, Reston, and Tyson's Corner. Yeah. See, I mean, I think that is one thing that's unique about the Northern Virginia area is wherever you live, you're going to find things to do around there. So Northern Virginia has done a great job of building little fiefdoms or fiefdoms, right? Or little community areas around these locations. So Ashburn, you could very well go to Ashburn, never really have to leave.
I'll go into the city.
The city. And then like you said, C. Allen is right down the street from Reston Town. Tyson's a little bit like 15, 20 minutes away. But yeah, so yes, I think that explore that region, that northern part of the Northern Virginia area. It's lovely. Also, there is, since you're in the Ashburn area, go to Middleburg. Middleburg has this
we love Middleburg.
Cute street. Also, you can go see the polo matches in Middleburg. It's
at Bancroft.
Yes, super cute. We took the boys there a couple years ago. It was a wonderful experience. We didn't know what we were looking at, but it was cute. It was so cute.
It was cool.
So cute. It was a great experience.
It was cool. Before I move on to the things to do, I'm going to talk about a few things that most of the people that reach out to us on this channel are relocating from somewhere outside of Northern Virginia. Right. And so there's just a couple things that are a couple tips that I found helpful for those buyers. And I want to go over a couple of them for you. For starters, is if you're not military, you're going to want to get your updated driver's license within the first 60 days of moving here. When we first moved here, the one and only time we've been pulled over since we moved here, a police officer let us know. He was like, how long have you lived here? Because we said our Louisiana driver's license. And we had been here for a couple of weeks. And he was like, well, you need to make sure you get your license updated within the first 60 days. And he was like, you're getting really close to 30 days and you need to get your vehicle registered as well. So you only have 30 days to register your vehicle with the state of Virginia. And then you have 60 days, within the first 60 days, you need to get a Virginia driver's license. So that's just one thing that a lot of people probably put on the back burner and don't think about handling immediately. You don't really have a long window here in Virginia for that.
For your vehicle, everything related to your vehicle, I feel like Virginia or Northern Virginia's DMV is well ran, right? You're not going to be there all day. You will be there sometime, but I think it's a well-run entity. So when you are getting your registration done and all your paperwork and your new ID and all the other jazz, you should have a relatively good experience.
Yeah, and a lot of it can be done after that initial registration. For the most part, after that, I've renewed my license, I think, twice since we lived here. I haven't been back to the DMV because they let you do everything online.
They do.
And thankfully, they let me keep that same picture from when I was 29, and so I still look relatively young in that picture. In addition to that, you'll also, when you register your vehicle, you'll also have personal property taxes. So about half the states in the country have personal property taxes. That was new to us because Louisiana does not have it. That. You pay your taxes when you buy a vehicle and you're done with it. We pay property taxes on our vehicle every year here in Northern Virginia. It's based upon the Blue Book value of the car, and so actually it was a little. People were a little bit upset this year because the tax rate went up a little bit this year.
Because used cars increased in value.
This year during the pandemic because of the microchip shortage. But you will need to pay that every year. So that's one thing to keep in mind, because oftentimes people don't even realize that when they're moving here. The first year when we got that in the mail, we didn't even know what it was. So that's just another thing to keep in mind.
Don't ignore it. Do not ignore it. If Fairfax County sends you a letter, open it.
Open it.
Open it. It's yours.
Another thing, and this is another thing that was completely new to me and not a concern for us because we've never been pet owners. But if you own a dog, you have to get a pet license here in Fairfax County. And so you need to buy a pet license. It's only like 10 or 15 bucks or something. But you do need to register your dog with the county when you move here. I believe it's within the first month of moving to Fairfax County. You need to register your pet. It's a $10 annual licensing fee. And it's for any dog that's over 4 months old. And so that is something that a lot of times when we do our intake for buyers, we ask about who will be living in the home. And usually that includes pets. But if you do own a dog, you'll want to make sure you stay on top of that because it's required by the county.
It is.
And then what's my last thing? My last little tip for buyers who are relocating to the areas, everyone pretty much remembers to forward their mail. But one thing that we find people may forget about, you transfer your utilities. But one thing people forget about is canceling memberships back in their home state or wherever they're from. So that's going to include things like canceling your gym membership and other annual subscriptions that are monthly subscriptions that you may have had. So those are just 3 things that I find when talking to clients that are often overlooked, or just that you wouldn't think about when you're initially in the busy time of moving. Like you're so busy with finding a home and getting your loan closed and hiring movers that you may forget about some of these smaller things.
Excellent. That's a great list, Crystal.
That's true. Thank you.
Excellent. Excellent. Let us know in the comment section if you have overlooked canceling your memberships. A lot of people, I'm pretty sure that's high on most people's list, and you can't get that money back.
You can't get that money back.
That's true.
All right. I'm going to share with you guys a couple of things to do this month, within the next few weeks at least, here in Fairfax County. Do we have any other comment sheets clear?
No, ma'am.
Okay, excellent. So this time of year is, I guess, we talked about this last week a little bit. It's our favorite time of year here in Fairfax County, fall. When we first moved here, I feel like maybe nearly every year we drove up to the Shenandoah National Park. We just love to see, the foliage and the leaves changing colors. That's really our thing, again, because we're from New Orleans and the trees don't change colors in New Orleans.
That's true.
And so that was a really big deal to us. And I think over the last few years, we realized it's just as beautiful just here in our neighborhood. Our block just will turn completely red over the next few weeks. And there are a couple of really great places to check out the fall foliage if you don't want to make the trek all the way to Shenandoah. So we have a couple of lakes in Fairfax County, and pretty much every lakefront has really beautiful foliage. Abraham mentioned that we have a video coming up soon with Reston. So in Reston, there are 3 lakes that you could check out that have absolutely breathtaking views. For starters, Lake Anne, which is featured in our video. But then there's also Lake Thoreau and Lake Audubon. And those are actually 3 of the best places to check out the leaves during the fall season. But then there's also Burke Lake, which we have visited before a few times.
It's on the channel.
We have a walking tour. Mm-hmm. We have a walking tour of Burke Lake Park. And then finally Lake Accotink, which is in Springfield. So if you want to take a nice walk and check out the foliage, those are all really great places. And then if you would prefer to do like a scenic tour, driving tour, then GW Parkway, which is always nice. You have the Potomac River on one side, right? So that's always really beautiful. And then, as I mentioned earlier to Vania in the comments, another one is actually Georgetown Pike. So that's kind of close to Great Falls. And it's actually that main area near Scotts Run Reserve, which we also did a video of.
Gotcha. Have we gone to Georgetown Pike?
So it's just the street so it's the street that we drove down to get to Scotts Run Pike.
Gotcha. I understand what you're saying now.
Yeah. So those are like the best places to check out the fall foliage. And then for holiday time, we have, our boys are a little bit older now, but over the years, we've been to a couple of different light festivals. Right. This is the time of year where you really start to see all of those. For the most part, they all opened like last weekend. And so Ruhr Zufari has one. For years, they actually had the Chinese Paper Lantern Light Festival. For years, they actually had the Chinese, but now actually go back to but the one that says Luminosity, I'm sorry. That one. So they had the Paper Lantern Festival, but they actually have changed it now. So now they have a new event. It's the Luminosity Immersive Wonderland of Lights. And so it's actually, if you're not familiar with Brewers, it's in Reston, and it is a petting zoo. But what you're going to see there this year is they're going to have all type of like animatronic lights. They're going to have dinosaurs that actually roar and unicorns and just like a whole little winter wonderland. So it's a little bit different than the last time we went a couple years ago. So we're going to have to check that out ourselves. But in addition to Luminosity, there's also the driving tour one at Bulls Run. So we did that one a couple years ago, maybe 2 years ago. We did that one, and it is perfect because you don't have to get out of your car. So what I recommend doing is if you want to go later in the season, maybe when it's a little bit chillier, I actually recommend going to Bulls Run later in the season because it's that you can pick up a hot chocolate at the beginning and then just drive through their festival of lights. It's like a 2.5 mile drive. And then you have Luminosity, which is this time of year, right? When it's actually not too cold. And then there's another one outdoors, which is, what is the last one? Meadowlark Winter Walk of Lights. Meadowlark is a botanical garden here in Vienna. And it is absolutely, if you look at this picture, Abraham's, it is absolutely breathtaking, right? It's right on the water there. And that one, actually, we haven't been to this one yet, but we've been to Meadowlark to check out the botanical garden. And it's just absolutely beautiful. So many light festivals.
My goodness.
We're going to have to check that one out too, right? So many light festivals to check out. Like I said, I recommend checking out Meadowlark and Luminosity this month before it gets too cold. And then towards the end of the season, you can hit up the drive-through at Bulls Run.
Excellent. We have a video walking through Meadowlark in the daytime.
We do, but look how beautiful it is at night.
I know. Yeah,
so it looks like we're gonna have to go back.
It's true.
Maybe we should have got the membership. We didn't get the membership.
No, not at all.
No.
We wouldn't have gone enough.
Okay.
Excellent. Is that everything for the things to do?
I have one more.
Okay.
This one is not for me, but in case anyone is interested. So a lot of times there are really cool things to do in DC. You can skate actually outside the botanical gardens, I think, in DC. But there's actually one place to ice skate. Ice skate.
Ice skate. Okay.
You can ice skate in Reston Town Center. You can check out the pavilion there, and they have ice skating for all ages there. They have skates from like other size all the way to as big as his feet. And they have a couple different, I'm just saying they have shoes up to size 15 is what I meant. So I mean they have shoes for ice skates for everyone. And so that actually just opened back up at the beginning of this month. I want to say it's going to be open until what does it say, February.
Okay, so that was the only picture that they have. Okay, excellent. Good. Perfect. Well, thank you so much, Crystal, for giving us all these wonderful things to do. We are at the end of the show. If you are watching this on the replay and you made it this far, thank you so much for watching our live stream. If you have questions about the local real estate market, or if you're ready to relocate to the area, or you already live here and you're ready to buy a house or sell your home, there is a link in the description to the Perfect Home questionnaire. That questionnaire out to schedule a time to meet with us via Zoom. Mm-hmm. We also, if you need immediate assistance, we also have our phone number down here in this little ticker box here. Mm-hmm. Cool little feature there as well. We're going to stay on for just a few more minutes to see if anybody has any questions. So if you have any questions, you're still watching right now, we'll stay on for like a minute or two while we discuss. Give you a time to type that up.
Okay. You know what? There was one more thing that since we're wrapping up, if anyone.
Yes.
There's one more thing. Yes, there is a 5K. When we were talking about Kingstowne, I meant to mention that to you.
I thought that's what you were about to say about the.
Okay. Yes.
The Town Center thing.
There's a 5K. I know you and the boys have been talking about running a half marathon. I think a 5K. It's here in Kingstowne too.
Yeah, that's true. We're all talk though.
Oh, you are. Okay. Yeah, I thought you guys. I was gonna sign you guys up, but I was like, I don't know. But 5K. 5K Can the Bird turkey trot coming up. And it's actually on your birthday. It's on Thanksgiving Day.
That doesn't change anything.
You sure you don't want to check it out?
I'm positive that I'm not interested.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna run it past the boys and see if they want to do it. Maybe they can convince you.
They can't.
No?
They can't
Okay.
convince me. No,
It's worth a shot.
Excellent. Excellent. So it looks like we don't have any questions. So thank you so much for tuning in to the show. My name is Abraham Walker. This is Crystal Walker, and we make up the Ask a Walker real estate team. We focus on helping individuals like yourself, either moving to the Northern Virginia area, moving around the Northern Virginia area, or selling your property. If you have any questions for us, the best way to get in touch with us is to click the link in the description and fill out the perfect home questionnaire. It's just a few questions that you'll answer, and then we'll schedule a time to meet online via Zoom. If you need immediate assistance, our contact information is going to be right here in the little ticker box, or we'll also put our phone number here in the future, phone number and email address here in the future as well. Thanks so much for watching. We will see you on the next video. Peace.